Welcome to the mayoral debate. The format for the mayoral debate is pretty straightforward. Candidates have drawn for the order of precedence for the first question. Afterwards, they'll alternate being the first to answer. Some questions will be addressed to both candidates. In such case, candidates will both have 2 minutes to answer if the question is addressed to both candidates. Okay, and the first responder will have an additional minute to rebut if it is addressed to both of you, okay? If a question is addressed to a single candidate, the candidate will have 2 minutes to answer, and the other candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Both candidates will have 2-minute closing statements. The first round of questions has been prepared by the league. The following questions will be from the audience. Once again, we have index cards going around. Please put your question on and we'll be happy to ask. All right, ready? Timer's ready. The first question goes to Mr. Lee, and you will have 2 minutes, both, and then you will have another minute to respond. Okay. 2 years ago, you indicated some significant reservations on the mall proposal for the Reed Putnam property. You have recently indicated that you support the SoNo connection mall being built. Please explain your change of position and indicate whether you believe the city has negotiated a good deal for itself in the amendment to the land agreement.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's important to get the information out to the community so that they can make an informed decision, and this is certainly the way to do it. 2 years ago, I was running for mayor. There was very little information about what the mall was going to look like. And people had visions of the monstrosity at in White Plains, Westchester Mall, the Stanford Mall, and there was a lot of concern. I wasn't the only one at that time that felt negatively about having a mall at that location. It's in view of the fact of what had originally been planned there. Class A office space, residential, retail, and that seemed to be the highest and best use for that project, for that property. As time started to unfold, we learned more about the mall and what was planned, and we started negotiating with the developers and trying to find the best fit for Norwalk. Things started to, it just started to look a lot more appropriate for Norwalk, and then we started determining that it was going to not look like the mall in White Plains or in Stanford. And so obviously, not being inflexible, I decided as that was going on that I was being convinced that the mall was going to be a good thing for the city of Norwalk, and that would make Norwalk a destination. As far as did we negotiate the best fit that we possibly could, I believe we have. There's been a lot of time put in, a lot of meetings. The developer has been very cooperative. The redevelopment agency and the Common Council Planning Committee have worked diligently to put together the best possible deal that we can for the city of Norwalk. And right now, the mall is almost ready to go, and I think we've done our due diligence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. You have 1 minute to answer.
1 minute? Okay. Well, I'd quickly also like to thank the League of Women Voters and everybody for coming out here tonight. Thanks. I have been in favor of the concept of the mall ever since it became apparent that the prior use wasn't feasible anymore. And I think that it's a good fit for the city in many ways, one being a connectivity between our vital areas, our downtown and our center of town. I think the jobs that it's going to bring, both permanent and temporary jobs, especially to those in South Norwalk, making it somewhere that's easy to get to work, are going to be wonderful for the city, and especially the growth on our grand list that we talk about all the time. How do we offset the property taxes, shift the burden from the residential owners? But I think that what's really helped move this project forward has been the Common Council, especially Doug Hempstead leading the planning committee of the council, and coming up with an innovative way to move things forward in a better fashion by holding joint meetings with the planning committee and redevelopment, so that the public has to come out half the time than they would for if they had to go out for both meetings, those that want to be interested and get involved in the process, and many other council members who help to move it along, to have multiple meetings to make sure that Norwalk is getting the best deal out of this. And I know that there's still further negotiations going on, but that's the kind of policy that I would implement as mayor and make that actual policy, so that moving forward, when major projects come forward like that, we do have more of a collaborative effort going forward, so that all parties can sit down at the table together, things can move through the city more efficiently, effectively, and again, it's less of a burden for the residents that want to come out and be a part of the process, not having to come out so much. I mean, we all do it because this is what we love to do and we choose to do, but for those that just want to be a part of the community, maybe they don't want to come out 5 nights a week for meetings, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me reiterate, if the question is addressed to a single candidate, the single candidate has 2 minutes. The second person has only 1 minute. Okay, if it is addressed to a single candidate, when the question is addressed to both candidates, they both have 2 minutes, and there is an additional 1 minute to the original. All right, this one will go to you, Ms.
Strinini.
Stanini. Sorry.
It's okay.
Everyone in Norwalk, Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated, all agree that we are being seriously shortchanged in the funds that we receive from the state educational cost sharing. In a recent letter you published in the Hour, you criticized Mayor Rilling for the lack of progress in getting the state to modify the ECS formula. Despite the inability of our recent mayors and other representatives of both parties to make progress on this issue, how specifically are you going to change the situation? 2 minutes for you.
Okay, thank you. I actually criticized the mayor for his lack of effort in changing the formula, because he had said in 2013 in debates that he would go to Hartford constantly until the formula was changed. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and being a mayor is more than just sitting behind a desk. And I know of no notable trips to Hartford that he's made specifically to speak before the Education Committee or this particular issue. I know he's spoken with people in Hartford and things like that, had some closed door meetings with people in Hartford, but that's not what he promised to do in 2013. And so that is what I had criticized. He's now saying a different tune, which is that it's too difficult, no one's ever going to change it, so let's give up. I don't believe in giving up on things. I'm a fighter. I keep going forward with something even if it's a challenge. And I think that the more that we continue to press on the issue and explore all avenues, whether it be the lawsuit, joining in on that as well, that is something that we need to look at also. But I don't think that we should just give up completely on that issue. I think that that's, the mayor may have changed his tune on it, but I don't think that the citizens of Norwalk have. I know I haven't. And I would pledge to go to Hartford and to send written testimony when I'm not able. I know that I won't always be able to go in Hartford. I will be needed in Norwalk. But I would send written testimony up to Hartford. I've spoken with many other city and town first selectmen and mayors who go up there and testify to try to change the formula, those that are impacted the way that we are. And I've spoken with legislators who've said that it's very effective. And I think that it certainly would have an impact coming from the mayor of the 6th largest city of the state. I think it's important that it's something that we need to keep fighting for. I don't think that it's fair to us as a city to just say, that's too hard, I'm going to walk away from it. That's not the way that I do things, so thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of fairness, I think I should give Mr. Riley also 2 minutes, and then we'll do the 1 minute, 2 minute with the following questions.
Thank you very much. This is the ECS formula that has been in existence for a good many years, and to date, no one from this area has had any success in trying to change it. I have gone to Hartford. I've spoken with the Senate President Martin Looney. I've spoken to our local delegates. I've gone with the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, and I have testified about the lack of ECS funding for the city of Norwalk. It's just when you try, and it's not working, then you have to try something else, maybe something that'll have a little bit greater chance of success. And that is joining the Connecticut Coalition for Justice in Educational Funding, of which I was appointed by former Mayor Knopp to be on the steering committee. There's an organization that is suing the state of Connecticut because the Connecticut Constitution mandates that the state of Connecticut shall provide an adequate education for all students. And when Norwalk is only getting $1,005 per student, and other towns are getting up to $7,000 per student, that's not fair to Norwalk, especially considering the fact that we have 50% of our students that are now eligible for free or reduced cost lunch. We have 9% of our students that are living at or below the level of poverty. So we have challenges that other communities don't have. If we're going to close the achievement gap, the state of Connecticut has to step up and has to be a part of the solution. So this lawsuit by the Connecticut Coalition for Justice and Educational Funding is telling the state of Connecticut, you have to find a different way of funding our educational system, and we should be getting more money. The other thing that we need to do is seriously explore property tax reform. It's an antiquated, regressive system in the state of Connecticut where we have to rely on 80 to 90%, where our budget is 80 to 90% of our budget comes from property taxes. There's only one of 4 states in the United States, and Connecticut is one of them. So we need to fight hard for the Connecticut Coalition for Justice and Educational Funding, and we have to fight hard for property tax reform.
Thank you very much. This question comes from the audience and is addressed to both of you. Mr. Regan, you'll be first, and you'll have 2 minutes. Ms. Steinitz, you will have 2 minutes, and then 1 minute further for you. All right. How will you improve Norwalk's infrastructure?
Well, it's noted and well known that Norwalk's infrastructure has been neglected for a very, very long time. And it didn't get into the shape it's in overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. We're going to be making some very difficult decisions in the future on how we're going to catch up, because I liken it to it's either pay me now or pay me later, and if you pay me later, you're going to pay twice as much. We're finding ourselves in a pay me later situation. We have problems in our schools. Our schools are at 100% capacity right now, so we have to make some tough decisions. Do we build new schools? Do we rebuild or add on to the existing schools? What do we do? Roads and sidewalks. They're in horrible condition. Obviously, we live in the Northeast. We have some very, very difficult winters. This past winter was extremely, extremely challenging for our roads. But to date, we have either paved or started to pave 53 roads in the city of Norwalk, and we fixed, I'm not sure of the linear footage of sidewalks, but tremendous numbers of sidewalks. We have put in the budget this year more money to fix our roads and sidewalks than in any previous year in the past. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to do what we have to do to make sure that we work on our schools, that we provide a good facility for our children. We have a facilities analysis that's being done right now. It's going to kind of give us an idea of where we have to go and what we have to do. You know, everybody's talking about a planner. I agree, we need a planner in Norwalk because there hasn't been planning in Norwalk for a long, long time. When the population of student body is down, we take a school and we repurpose it. And all of a sudden the school population is back up and we find ourselves in a difficult situation. We have 19 public schools in the city of Norwalk, and I believe we used to have as many as 24 or 25. So we have to make some very tough decisions.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Stein?
Sure.
2 minutes.
Okay, thanks. I'm very familiar with our city's infrastructure. I sat on the Public Works Committee for the whole 6 years that I served on the Common Council. I disagree that the infrastructure has been neglected for many years. I know that when I got on the council in 2005, it was in very bad shape. The city was plagued with flooding all over the place, and we addressed that right away as soon as I took office, as well as others. We replaced almost every bridge in the city. We put, just in the 6 years I served on the council, we put about $5 to $6 million into paving every single year, improvements to sidewalks. During my time on the council, we allocated funds to do an actual sidewalk and footpath study to find out, what the best way was to take care of that. That it wasn't always necessarily sidewalks that we needed built, but maybe footpaths that need to be improved, and those are a little bit easier to maintain. Less burden on the residents, also on the homeowners, for those people that have one outside of their house. So I think that we need to continue on that path. And again, I agree that we do need to make difficult decisions sometimes. We are a large city and we have a lot of needs, but I think that, we've been moving along for the last decade or so in a positive direction. I know trying to get through the public works, trying to get things online, trying to, get cameras in the ground to map out, make sure that our mapping systems are up to date and everything like that. So as mayor, I would continue to move forward with those things. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Ring, do you wish to add anything, or shall we go to the next question?
You can go to the next question.
Okay, the next question is going to Mr. Neely, and I've been asked to remind you to speak to the microphone. Apparently the people in the back are having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Neely, what do you consider the biggest problem Norwalk will face in the next 2 years? 2 minutes.
Thank you. There's several things that are on the top of my list to do if I get elected on November 3rd. One of them, as we've all been talking about, is the taxes, and especially the senior tax relief. When I served on the council, I was chairman of the ordinance committee. I revised the senior tax relief program, expanded it then. I know it was recently expanded again, but it is still not significant enough. I've been talking to residents at their doors for 6 months now, talked to thousands of residents all over Norwalk, a lot of them senior citizens. They can't afford to live here anymore. They have a very fixed income and can't afford their property taxes. They're moving out. They don't want to leave. Their children live here. Their grandchildren live here, but they have to. And I think, we talk about tough decisions. I think this is one of the things where we make a tough decision and say, it's time to invest in our community and the seniors in our community who've lived here, who've built their lives here, and they deserve to be able to stay here. So I think, and I've got a couple different ideas on how I would address that. And then one of the other biggest concerns is the overcrowding in our school systems. And I know that there's a facilities utilization study underway now, which hopefully will be out soon. I would sit down with Dr. Adamowski right away, go over that and look at the feasibility of either building a new school, shuffling around schools. I know that, we have some schools that are way over capacity and others that aren't yet at capacity. Right now it's at the elementary level where we're feeling it the hardest. Like Jefferson School, a school for 400 students, it has over 600 students now. But we need to be looking into the future too and do real visionary planning, because right now the elementary schools are at capacity and beyond. Well, what's going to happen in a few years when they move into middle schools? Are we going to be facing the same crisis there? So I think that we need to take a proactive approach so that we're not handling everything in Norwalk like a crisis, do better planning starting from day one. Thanks.
Mr. Lilly.
Thank you. I think one of the biggest problems we have facing Norwalk is how we grow. And we need to make sure that we don't let it get out of control. Now, growing is good as long as you grow in the right way. Everybody talks about taxes. I agree. Taxes in Norwalk are very difficult for many, many people to pay. I'm a taxpayer myself, so I know how difficult it is when July 1st comes around and I see my bank statement coming in, or January 1st comes around and they've taken out the money for my taxes. Now I have 2 minutes, right?
Yes, we do have to.
So taxes certainly are important, and we give tax relief in more than just one way. We give tax relief to seniors through senior tax relief, which we have done, but we also give tax relief to the homeowners by growing the grand list and shifting some of the burden from the shoulders of the homeowners onto some of the new developments. Now, the POCO project, the Head of the Harbor South project, the Pearl on Washington Street, the mall, these are all projects that, when done and done properly, will increase our grand list significantly. Not only will it bring hundreds of jobs, but they'll bring millions of dollars in revenue through taxes. So we can do a lot of things with the money. We can start investing in our schools, in our infrastructure. We can make sure that we keep taxes as low as we possibly can. And that's the way to get it done.
Okay, Mr. Needy, you may have an additional minute if you so desire.
Oh, okay, I thought that I took all my time, and I thought
No,
that
no.
was good.
You get a 1 minute rebuttal.
You have one additional
Okay,
minute.
that's okay,
Okay.
I'll use it another time.
We'll go to the next question, which is actually going to go to you again, Mr. Rilling. When it comes to quality of life issues like noise, specifically sound barriers on I-95 and pollution from the excessive highway traffic, what steps will you take to address these issues?
Who's that go to first?
You.
Oh, okay.
And it goes to both of you, but you're first.
Well, obviously, that's something that we have to work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And if there are issues, and we hear from the neighbors that there are issues, and apparently there is because somebody decided to ask the question, we need to work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. There are sound barriers up along I-95 in just past exit 16, or coming southbound right near exit 16. There's pollution from some of the cars on I-95. You know, we have to try to keep cars off of I-95. So we have to invest in our rails. We have to make sure that people are more inclined to use mass transit. We have to develop our urban core so that people can take the circulator or a shuttle down to the train station and commute into New York. That's what I see as the main problem. This I-95 is a very, very difficult piece of highway. And I'm not so sure that widening it is going to solve any problems. It's just going to get more cars on it. So we have to start investing in mass transit, making sure our rails are in great shape. We have to work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation in achieving that.
Thank you, Mr. Needy.
Yes, thank you. I would be curious to know exactly where it is, and I would start there to how I would address the problem. I know that part of it is it just depends on the location, and sometimes you could have sound barriers, but it's not really going to do anything. And how appropriate are they also? Would we want something like that on the Merritt Parkway? I mean, the Merritt Parkway is a beautiful stretch of road with natural trees, and it has a, reminds me of the real New England charm that we have here, and one of the things that I love about our area. So I don't know that I would want to drive down and see some major kind of walls up there. I'm not really sure what was proposed in the question, but I think that if there was anything that we'd have to do, then we would need to work with the DOT and see if there could be anything done. But I know that depending on where you are in the city, certain areas, the noise pollution is, I mean, we live in a city for one, but also it depends on where it is. And I mean, I've been in some of the outskirts of the city where, in the Cranberry section in my neighborhood in Broad River, where no matter where you are, you're on a beautiful, quiet little dead-end street, but you could hear the Merritt Parkway. And I think that part of that is just, it is the area. It's because we have a lot of residences in the area, and you're going to hear that kind of when you live close to Parkway. So, thanks.
Mr. Raymond, do you wish to add anything?
Yeah,
you got a minute if you wish.
In keeping vehicles off of I-95, that certainly includes trucks, and it was kind of interesting. Just today, I met with the people that are on Cove Avenue opening up Harbor Harvest. It's a kind of an organic grocery store and meat store. They're using ferries to bring food from New York into Connecticut, and then they're delivering the food to people in the neighborhoods on electric bicycles. So these are the kinds of things that are exciting that we can take advantage of, keeping cars off of I-95, keeping trucks off of I-95, and using electrical energy to motorize some of our vehicles. And I thought that was kind of an interesting story that they have.
Fascinating. Mr. Needy, this question is to you. Accountability of department heads and other staff is vital. How will you improve accountability and interdepartmental communications?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. I will do my best to answer this in under 2 minutes. First of all,
you will have an additional minute if you so desire.
Okay, thank you.
It's your turn to have it.
Well, first of all, I think that Norwalk has a wonderful staff, a wonderful employees. I think that they're all hardworking, dedicated employees for the city of Norwalk. I think that part of the problem is a lack of direction on some of the time, and not knowing how to be coordinated and working together. I know that there's, over the years, people have tried to improve that. I haven't seen from what I hear that, from residents that come into City Hall, that it's been very effective. Now, I don't think, again, that that's anything to do with the fault of the departments. I think that it's just that they need a leader to come in and get people working together, and I have many different ideas on how I would go about doing that. But first of all, I would say that when replacing department heads, I think it's critical that we do national searches. I think that we need to be sure that we have the best and the brightest for our city. I do believe that it's always good to hire and promote from within whenever that's possible. And sometimes we could do a national search and we wind up promoting from within, but we don't know that we have the best and the brightest until we've done that. So that's number one. I would do that for any new hires. And like I said, a host of different ideas on how I would get people working together, but just collaborating together to sit down together. One of the things that I mentioned, which I know I'm not going to get it out in 30 seconds, but to have a permit processing center where people would go in for one-stop shopping in City Hall. And that would alleviate a lot of the bouncing around from department to department that people have to do. And I think that that in itself would improve the inter-department communications as well. To have a centralized system where everything feeds into that office of the Permit Process Center. And I think that would be just one of many ways to get people working together better. Thank you.
Terrific. Mr. Reilly.
Thank you very much. When I was a police chief, the previous 8 years that I was a police chief, I think I attended one, perhaps two department head meetings. When I was running for election, I said, I'm going to hold department heads accountable. We're going to meet on a monthly basis, and we're going to communicate. Because prior to that, they were operating in a silo. Nobody was communicating with each other. There was no cooperation. There was like this huddling mentality where they wanted to hold on to whatever resources they had, and they didn't want to share it. We meet with all department heads once a month, and we discuss issues of mutual concern. I've watched the department heads start to grow and develop and actually shake hands and become friends with each other. We talk about issues that are important to the city, and when one person says, I'd like to do this, but I'm not sure where I can go for this, the other person will say, well, I've got that, I can help you, we'll work together. And I've seen that evolve over a period of time, and it's really, really gratifying to see that our department heads are working together, they are communicating, they're actually sharing resources, and they're getting things done. The job is getting done. Again, Colony Grill opened the other night, and it was a wonderful event down at Waypoint. They had a soft opening, and the owners, Paul and Ken, approached me, and they said, when we were working in other communities, it was a horrible experience. In Norwalk, we came in, we were treated so fairly, everything was so efficient and smooth. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. So our department heads are working hard, they are communicating, they are sharing resources, and that's something that's relatively new.
Terrific. Mr. Reilly, you may have another minute if you
Yes,
like.
thank you. I would say that there's still major room for improvement, and I'm always happy to hear that people have a good experience in Norwalk, but I think that's not what I hear the most of. I hear residents that want to do a home improvement. They have to take an entire day off from work because they have to come in the city and get permits, and they don't know how to do it, they don't know where to go. They go to one department, they get bounced over to another. I think that needs to stop. I think it's basic customer service and bring our city up to 21st century standards, and I think that we need to do that. I think there's a lot of different ways in which that could be implemented. I think that it's something that the staff would embrace and be happy about. It sounds like, over the years they've been willing to work together and to have a little bit more guidance and direction and leadership. So, thanks.
Terrific. This question goes to you, Mr. Reilly, and it says, will you do anything to increase affordable housing for low-income people and renters?
What was the last word? I didn't
Renters. Renters.
Oh, renters.
Renters.
Well, there's a state statute that guides and governs the affordable housing in any community, and the goal is to have 10% affordable housing. And I listened to some of the Common Council comments earlier, and I agree that even though we're over 10%, that affordable, according to that definition, is not necessarily affordable for a lot of individuals. And it's a challenge that we face. How do we keep people living in Norwalk and being able to live here when they're coming in on a salary that's not capable of supporting $2,000 for a two-bedroom home? And that's an expensive piece of property. So the 35-65 concept is one that is very, very worth exploring and trying to find ways that we can get developers to come in and develop apartments and properties that people can afford and can afford to live here. You know, they say that a community is judged by how they take care of their young and how they take care of their seniors. And we need to do a better job of helping our seniors stay in their homes, and we need to do a better job of helping young people come into the community and be able to live here. When they go off to college and come back and find a job, we want them to come back to Norwalk and keep Norwalk as their hometown. So it's a challenge that is going to take some doing with the Common Council, with the Board of Estimate Taxation, the Zoning Commission. It's a challenge, and it's not something that's easily resolved, but we should be doing everything we can to support young people and seniors and make Norwalk a little bit more affordable. Keeping taxes down is one way that can happen.
Thank you, Mr. Needy.
Yes, thank you. When I was on the Common Council, I've always been supportive of affordable housing. We do have more than our fair share in Norwalk, more than the state minimum requirements. I know a lot of projects that came in wound up going in with 15% affordable housing. I think that as far as the renters though, so I own my own business. I'm a real estate paralegal. So all I do is residential real estate closings, and I'm very familiar with the market. And I think that it isn't so much, let's find a place for renters. I think it's, oh, I only had 1 minute on this one? Okay.
No, you have 2 minutes.
You have to-
Oh,
You have
I
2
talked
minutes.
that long already? Oh my
Total
goodness.
of 2 minutes.
Okay, sorry. But I think that instead of saying, let's find a home for renters, I think we need to find more home ownership programs, because what I see now is it is far more expensive to rent than it is to own a lot of times, especially in our area. So I think that we need to see what we can do as a city, as a community, to help people do that, especially people that are currently in low-income housing. This is a real problem because they're not, that are in truly low-income housing. They are, as their income increases, their rent increases, and they're only allowed to have a certain amount of money in savings. So it's not like they can sit and save money for a deposit on a home. So I think that we need to help see how we could do, whether it be working with a redevelopment agency or other programs, to see what we can do to help people get into home ownership here. What we can do to help people that are in affordable housing now to get out of affordable housing and to be able to own their own home, because some people could be paying more in rent than they could be paying in a mortgage, and they have a real stake in the community and have something they could be proud of. I know that I was very proud. I worked from a very young age, put myself through college and everything, started my own business, and worked very hard. I had a goal of owning my house, my husband and I, while we were still in our 20s. And I did, and thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Ray, you may have an additional minute if you so desire.
I don't disagree with Mr. Levy when it comes to affordable housing and making people or enabling people to purchase a home. Several years ago, we had a program called Weed and Seed. We are a Weed and Seed federally designated community. Unfortunately, we lost that designation because we got too good at things. But we had a program where we brought in the federal government, we brought in banks, and we brought in the state government, and we enabled people to get low interest mortgages, and we decided, and we helped them buy their homes. And yes, oftentimes, when you have the tax deduction on your principal and on your interest, renting or purchasing a home and paying a mortgage is a lot cheaper than buying a home. So those kinds of programs are very, very important, and we should explore doing that again as well.
Thank you very much. Next question will go to you, Mr. Needy. It changes gears a little bit. The Board of Education expenditures represent well over half of the city budget, operating budget. There is general agreement that much remains to be done to improve Norwalk's educational performance. How, if elected, are you going to reconcile the need for improvement in our schools with the pressure to minimize the burden on the taxpayers who are complaining that the taxes are too high?
Thank you. Another great.
2 minutes for you.
Okay, another great question. That's an easy one, actually. Yes, it is true that the Board of Ed represents 60% of our budget. Over the last year, the Board of Ed has done some of its best improvements yet with a Republican-led board by Mike Lyons, who's worked with other members in a bipartisan fashion on the board, and with Dr. Adamowski as well. The Board of Education, this past budget came in at the lowest department out of all the city departments. So the Board of Ed side, their budget was much lower than the city side of the budget. Some of them some were 2 to 3 times higher, their departments, than the Board of Ed was. And with that, it was fully funded. They've done many improvements, $2.5 million going into school security enhancements, along with many, many other things. So it's not, the answer is not always throw money at something and it's going to get better, because that's not the truth. You get the right people in place that are making smart, responsible decisions, and those things are going to happen. So I'm very happy with the direction it's going, and my goal as mayor would be to get my city departments in line with that also, so that they could be in with the Board of Ed increase, which was around somewhere between 2 and 3%, right around the line, right around where inflation is, and not inflated to, some of them up as high as 7%. So that's what I would do. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Lilly, your response?
Thank you, and I agree that you don't throw money irresponsibly at an educational system and expect that it's going to get better. We have a wonderful superintendent that is now here. He's got a vision, and he hit the ground running, and he is planning, and we are working with him, to close the achievement gap by 2020. And with the challenges that we face, as I mentioned before, that's a very ambitious goal, and I think we're on track to meet it. The fact remains that even though the Board of Education budget is 50%, or actually more than 50% of the city budget, we still held taxes down, even though we fully funded the Board of Education. In fact, if you go back 9 years of tax increases, the increased tax levy this year, there was only 1 year where we had a lower tax levy increase. And so I'm very, very proud of the fact that we are working together. I sent my department heads a memo telling them, do not come in at over 2%, come in at less if you can. And that's in spite of the fact that the previous administration had negotiated contracts with increases of 2, 2.5, and sometimes 3%. So we wanted to make sure that even though we had those mandates through previously negotiated contracts, that we still came in with a 2% increase. And we were very, very proud of the fact that, like I said, the lowest tax levy increase in all but 1 year in the last 9 years.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton. You may have an additional minute.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the reason that the tax levy came in, the increase as low as it did this year, is again because of the Board of Education side of the budget, which came in lower, even though it's 60% of the budget, it came in with the lowest increase than any other side of than any other department of the city side. I mean, the second one that came under that was the Public Works Department, which was when Mr. Albert was still here, who's no longer here. So that was the second largest increase. But if the Board of Ed side had increased as the rate that the city side did, we would be looking at huge tax increases this year. Thank you.
Thank you. This question goes to you, Mr. Lilly, and if elected, will you support creating a city planner position within the administration? If not, why not? City planner.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's something that's been discussed for a very, very long period of time. We are poised to become everything that we can be, but we have to do it the right way. If we let this get away from us and we just let people come in and do whatever they want, we don't have a plan in place, we're going to find ourselves in a very difficult situation down the road. So a city planner is critical to any community the size of Norwalk. Again, to make sure that we do it right, bring in the expertise, sit down and find out what Norwalk's all about, look at our natural resources, look at all the things that we do have, and make the best decisions for smart growth and development. So it's critical to me that we work in that direction and that we bring in somebody with that expertise who can help guide us in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
Yes, thank you. And I first want to say, like I mentioned earlier, that the city of Norwalk is very lucky to have many wonderful employees. And I think that, you know, because I would explore hiring a city planner, I do not think it's a reflection on our current planning and zoning department. I think we have many wonderful qualified employees in there. But I do think that it's something that's been talked about for at least 2 years. It hasn't happened in the past 2 years, but it's something that I would definitely explore. And again, it's something that I would do a national search for. I think that the city could benefit from that, along with several other changes that I would propose. But I think that, you know, we need to make sure that that is the right fit for the city. And I know that some of our staff get some unjust criticism sometimes. So, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Raymond, you wish to add anything?
Yeah, and you know, it's always nice to say we're going to do something like that, but we also have to find the funding to do it. And we have a limited pot. We're all talking about taxes. So we have to make some wise decisions and spend our money the best way we possibly can. And several times now it's been mentioned about a nationwide search. I've hired 3 people since I've been the mayor. I've hired a personnel director, I've hired an economic development director, and I've hired a DPW director. On all 3 of those, we did a nationwide search. You'll see that the record reflects that. We went out and advertised in periodicals, industry periodicals that went all over the country, and we got lots and lots of responses. So we did do a nationwide search for the people that I've hired.
Okay.
Can I respond to that?
No. The rules do not allow that, but you have the next question.
Okay.
And it switches gears altogether. There has been a great deal of discussion, but no action on the establishment of a Charter Revision Commission to look over the Norwalk City Charter and recommend changes. Do you favor the establishment of a commission, and what areas of the charter would you recommend to be considered for a revision?
Thank you. Yes, I do favor the establishment of a Charter Revision Commission. This is something that's been, I'm not sure who wrote the question, what their intent was, but I know the one that's been talked about the most was to change the terms, the years of the mayoral term as well as council has been talked about. There's been a lot of discussion about giving the council a salary, so I'm not sure what in particular the question is addressed to, but I know that I have been in favor for years since I served on the council. This question came up in 2008. I was supportive of it. I think that we should definitely form a Charter Revision Commission. I know it's something that the mayor had campaigned for in 2013. Again, another thing that I haven't seen happen yet, but I think that I would, if elected, make the case to the council and have them form the commission. I think that it's something that would benefit the community in a lot of different ways. It's something the Chamber of Commerce has been advocating for a long time. It would bring more stability. I mean, we're looking at a perfect example with the mall. You know, some of the complaints that we heard about were people were afraid it was being rushed through because everyone's afraid of the election cycle changing and having a whole new council come on, a new mayor and everything else. So I think that it would bring more stability to the city. I think that it would also, I know that it would save money for not having to have an election every 2 years. I do believe that it would be important to have all of the offices changed to a 4-year cycle. As we know, voter turnout, it's so nice to have a full room here tonight because voter turnout in Norwalk is so low in a local election, usually around 30-something%. So I think it would be quite impossible to expect anybody to come out solely for a council race. So I think it'd be important to make sure that those changes are made as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rennie.
When I campaigned in 2013, I made it very, very clear from the beginning that I would try to bring about a Charter Revision Commission so we could explore the term, the length of a term for mayor. I made it very clear at that time also that I thought a 4-year term for a city the size of Norwalk was appropriate, and that a 2-term limit would also be appropriate. I thought that was a way that we could say, okay, you know, 8 years is enough. It's good enough for the President of the United States. It's good enough for the Mayor of Norwalk. I also thought that it would be good to have 4-year terms for council members. Now, I got the Chamber of Commerce behind me. I got the League of Women Voters behind me. And a lot of people campaigned to make it happen. In order to have a Charter Revision Commission, I have to put that before the Common Council. And I have to have 10 votes out of the 15 council members in order to get that to happen. I put it before the council. I didn't bring it for the council because I was told flat out that they weren't going to support a charter revision commission. So in spite of the fact that the Chamber of Commerce representatives went to the Republican Town Committee, they went to the Democratic Town Committee, and they did op-eds in the paper, and other people did op-eds, I still was not able to get the support on the Common Council to do it. So therefore, charter revision is not going to, or the Charter Revision Commission will not be formed now. Hopefully, next time around, I'm going to be able to get it done.
Thank you very much. You may have an additional minute.
Oh, thank you. I believe that I would be able to make the case before the Common Council to have them form a Charter Revision Commission. It would need a bipartisan effort. The council is now, whatever the makeup is, 7-7-1 or 8-7. So it would need both parties to support it. And I, as majority leader of the Common Council, as minority leader of the Common Council, I have a history in the city of working well with both parties. I think I would be able to bring everybody together, not have separate meetings, but bring everybody together and talk about why it would benefit the city, the residents, business in the city, residents, our finances. And I believe that I would be able to get everybody together, answer questions all at once, and get everybody on the same page and get those 10 votes to get it passed.
Terrific. Now, next question goes to you, Mr. Irwin. Do you believe our plan of conservation and development, also called master plan, is a guide or an actual plan?
If you look at it, it's more of a guide. I don't think it's as comprehensive as it could be. I think it needs a lot of work. I think, unfortunately, what really has happened is it has been put in place, put on the shelf to gather dust. And unfortunately, that's basically what happens with most of the plans that we have in the city. It's always a good idea to go out and look at a plan and have someone pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in some case to have somebody evaluate a situation and put together recommendations and guides. The history in Norwalk has been, okay, let's just not do anything about it, we'll put it up there. You know, when you commission a plan, you have to be ready for what comes out of that plan. You know, you can't say, well, we don't like what came out of it, so we're going to hide it. You need to be ready to make some very, very tough decisions. We have recently sent out for a review the plan for a wonderful piece of property with a tremendous amount of potential, the Webster Street area, where there's been recommendations of townhouses along Martin Luther King Drive, mixed-use development, even a parking deck on the Webster Street lot. So we sent that back out to see if that plan is still viable because it just sat there for a long time. So a plan needs to be a plan, not so much a guide as the plan of conservation and development is, and people need to have the courage to implement that plan once it's done.
Thank you, Mr. Neely.
Thank you. I would have the courage to implement the plan and to take a new approach to it also. I would propose that we form a joint committee of Common Council, redevelopment, zoning, and planning members and revise the plan. I sat on the council when it was revised last, was in 2008. I do agree that it's something that's not referred to, I don't think, enough. And it's good for 10 years. It's coming up in another couple years. I think that it's time to be proactive and not wait until it expires to start get it updated. I think that's something that we need to start now so that when it does come up, it'll be ready to roll out. I also think that it's critical that we have public involvement in this. And I think that that's why I would propose we set it to referendum and let the voters of Norwalk vote on it, including having engagement and involvement in the process all along the way. I was involved years ago before the current master plan was updated. It had been expired for a while, I think it was, and I was involved. That was when I was president of the Broad River Neighborhood Association. We did these little mini master plans. All the neighborhoods got together and submitted them, and I think that was great. But again, it was something that was they were not referred to, nothing was done with them, they were kind of put on the shelf. And then the new master plan came in 2008, but again, I believe that we need to do more with that. I think that we need to make it have some teeth in it, and I would say after putting it to referendum and having it voted on, I would then bring it to zoning and have the regulations updated to reflect that. And I also just wanted to say too, about the Webster lot, I think that that is a great and critical piece of property to be looked at. I'm very happy that the plan is being updated. It's our last redevelopment parcel in Norwalk, and I think that it's got some really great potential there. So if I am elected, when that plan comes out, I would definitely make that a priority to move forward and get things going there. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Rainey, you may have an additional minute.
The development of the plan of conservation and development is, the development of it, is governed by state statute, and there are numerous public hearings that have to take place. I'm not sure that you would take a document like that and put it on the ballot for a referendum and let the people vote on it. First of all, it's a comprehensive plan. People that are interested are going to come out and testify in all the public hearings that have to be held. And to then put it on the ballot and expect that all the citizens of Norwalk will be familiar with it and be able to vote on it, I'm not so sure that's an effective way of doing things, and I think it could be counterproductive.
Okay, Mr. Negan, next question to you.
No response on that. Okay.
Sorry, the rules were set. How do you feel about gun violence in Norwalk?
Well, I think that we have a wonderful police department that is doing a lot in the community to reach out I know that there's a program currently going on to try to get citizens involved and see what the police do and everything. I think that community relations are a big part of that. And the police getting involved in the community, which they are doing a fine job of. But I too am concerned about the crime. We talked about this the other night, or the other morning. I don't know, this is the fourth time we've done this. We've had a lot of the same conversations.
Fourth time in 3 days.
And I know that, crime is an issue. We are in the 6th largest city in the state. And I'm concerned. I know there was a shooting right down the street from me the other night on Main Avenue. I mean, it's scary to think that. I don't think that, it's not something that I would really think that would ever happen in my neighborhood. But I think that, number one, we continue to work together as a community. We continue to keep our police very involved in the community. They do a really great job of that. But the other thing is, we talked about this before, is looking at hiring more police officers. And that is one of those things that is very difficult, a difficult decision to make because it is an expensive decision to make. But I think that is something that we seriously need to take a look at. I think that we would benefit from that. I know from being in Broad River, I know that we've called, when I was involved with the neighborhood association there, people would say, well, we want more police presence in our neighborhood for any number of things, for crime, break-ins, speeding, anything. And we were told, that what happens is, unfortunately, we only get one patrol car for our whole area, and then if something happens in another area of the city, it's the first car to get called out. And I think that, I don't see any other way. I'm open to, the first thing I would do is sit down with the police chief and talk to him about it, but I'm not sure if there's any other way to get around it other than hiring at least another officer. Thanks.
Well, I may be biased, but I think we have an amazing police department. The men and women of our department are so dedicated. They work so hard. They do a job that most people wouldn't do if you paid them 3 times the amount that they're making. You can't put a price on a life, but nevertheless, they've chosen that as their profession. And I think we have a great chief of police. I think his predecessor was pretty great. But no, we have community outreach probably second to none. Our men and women are out there working with the community. We have a community policing program. If you go into the inner city, especially when we have young people that need not fear the police, we have plenty of outreach programs. We just went through a program called Fair and Impartial Policing that helps officers recognize, and community members, by the way, because community members went through it as well, recognize biases that they may not even recognize that they have. And it was a very enlightening. I sat through some of it. We had people right in this room, I believe, that were there as well. And it was an amazing program. But crime in Norwalk is always going to be an issue, no matter how much crime you have. Because if you have one crime and it's next door to you, and that's the only crime that occurred in the entire city for the entire year, it's going to be of concern to you because it happened right next door or it happened to your house. So we're never going to eradicate crime, but if you go back into the late 80s, early 90s, and look at the crime rate back then, and compare it with the crime rate now, you'll find beyond any doubt that crime in Norwalk during that period of time, the difference is that crime, the major crimes, are down about 35 to 40%. We're a growing community, we're a diverse community, but we're a community that works together and has good relationships and develops good relationships.
Thank you. You have 1 more minute if you wish, and then we'll go to closing statements.
No, I'm all set on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, then we'll go to closing statements, and I believe, Mr. Regan, you're going first. 2 minutes?
Closing statements already? Thank you.
Yes.
You know,
Time flies.
Norwalk is an amazing place. It's a great city. It's got tremendous potential. I was born and raised here, went to Norwalk Public Schools. My children went to Norwalk Public Schools. And yes, believe it or not, I have grandchildren. And they're in Norwalk Public Schools as well. You know, this is the season when there's going to be letters in the paper that are paid endorsement, paid criticisms. We're going to sit here and toss things back and forth. I'm not going to engage in that. I'm going to run on my record. In the past 2 years, in a very short period of time, we've accomplished a significant amount. If you look at what's happening in Norwalk, I've been out in the community. I'm out there every single day. People are excited about Norwalk. They're talking, they're enthusiastic, they're saying, wow, I can't believe what's happening. More importantly, people outside of Norwalk are talking about Norwalk. They're looking and taking note of Norwalk and saying, wow, that's a community that I want to be a part of. There's so much going on. We've invested so much in our infrastructure in the past 2 years. We've got development projects going. We have fully funded the Board of Education. I'm running on my record. I'm running on what has happened over the past 2 years. I have never felt, and I still don't, that I'm entitled to your vote. I feel that I have to earn your vote, and I have to earn it every single day. I'm here tonight asking you for your support on November 3rd so that we can keep Norwalk moving in the right direction, keep this wonderful momentum that we've started, and help me and my team bring Norwalk to its fullest potential. I thank you for your time tonight. Thank you so much, and thank you to the League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Mr. Well, just a minute, please. Let's hear the statements, and then we'll all applaud heartily. Mr. Regan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and again to everybody who's come out tonight. I too am a lifelong Norwalk resident. I love the city. My husband and I decided to stay here when our son was born. I've lived here my whole life. I own my business here. I love it. I think also that Norwalk is a very exciting city. We have a lot of things going on. We are in a wonderful location just geographically. I'm also very proud of my record of service to our community in so many different capacities, and especially that on the Common Council, where I voted for fiscally responsible budget caps, where I was a friend of the environment, preserving many acres of open space, major capital improvement projects, major school renovation projects, building a new firehouse, infrastructure, road, flooding, so many different things that went on, including passing ordinances that promoted public safety and welfare and quality of life issues. I'm hoping to get elected on November 3rd because I believe with all my heart that I could help Norwalk realize its full potential. I think that it's great, but there's a lot of room for improvement still. I know that I've been talking to residents all over the city for the past 6 months or more, and I know that there's a lot of things that are still left undone that need to be accomplished, including making sure that we have a top-notch educational system for our schools, for our students and our families here, making sure that Norwalk is a better, easier, softer place to do business, that it's not so scary coming into City Hall and trying to figure out where to go, making sure that things are put online so that there's a handbook so that people could come in and even before they get here and they can look and find, oh wow, okay, this is how I go through the process, things like that. And so again, I respectfully ask for your vote on November 3rd. I'm excited, I'm energized, I'm ready to help continue making Norwalk a better place, and with everyone's help I could do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for your applause.